In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock.
Today, the same condition is known as an 8-syllable hyphenated phrase void of any emotion.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
In fact, every election year since 1986 has resulted in a U.S. president being named Time's Man of the Year, with only one exception.
They say the Americans and their president Barack Obama shed tears over the killing of 20 children and 6 adults in a school in Connecticut, while keeping a blind eye on news about the frequent death of Pakistani civilians who are being killed during Washington's drone attacks in the country.
And with that, welcome back to Radio Free Canada. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We're wrapping things up for December and the beginning of January of 2013, 2012, that sort of thing. And it's our out-of-the-box thinking that you are tuned into. Remember, everything that we're about to say is our opinion, as protected underneath Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
And we are happy to present media that is protected under international fair use copyright law.
So strap yourself in for the next 15 minutes. We're going to be talking about the way that mainstream news is missing almost everything of importance. Why? Justin Bieber is on the air.
Or royalty is getting married or having a baby.
Yes, indeed. We do not check in with how the royal penis is doing. Why? Because we're out-of-the-box thinkers. So if you're one of those people who thinks that CHBC is the news,
or the McDonald's is a restaurant,
then stop listening now. Please tune into your major media, because they've got all the pap that will make sure that you feel everything is okay and you can go back to shopping. Why? Well, because they're them, we're us. Let's run a reason to smile that proves our point.
It's time for Tips and Tricks of Holiday Journalism, because even the media we love to hate like to spend time with their families once in a while. With Tips and Tricks of Holiday Journalism, you'll get year-in-review photo collections. More images mean less writing, and the magic of chronology takes the guesswork out of which image comes first. You'll also get Best of collections. Take anything at all, group it with like things, and there you have it. Best ties of 2012. And mustn't forget top 10 lists, just like the best of list, but 10 in order of preference. You'll also get the tried and true Man of the Year. Fills up plenty of pages ahead of time so you can fill up on plenty of eggnog now. And the beloved Year in Blank. Put any word in the blank and there's your story. The year in finance. Sure. The year in global warming. No problem. The year in mass shootings. Or the year in war. I guess. But no need to get depressing now. Check out the year in technology instead. And remember God's gift to holiday roundups everywhere. Celebrities. The year's 10 best movies, 2012's hottest celebs, or belly buttons of 2012. And don't forget recently added category, Cliffhanger of the Year, when real news about a fake crisis comes when everyone is really drunk. Tips and tricks of holiday journalism. Available now as one snarky cartoon roundup.
Wow, that's just proving our point, okay?
Well, you know, journalists don't want to work too hard this time of year.
No, there's all kinds of stuff that they've been ramming down your throat as being news, and of course we disagree.
Well, there was all that kerfuffle over the fiscal cliff nonsense, plus the Newton shooting.
Oh yes, okay, and you know what? There was a sheriff who stood up in a movie theater when a gunner went in with his guns and shot the guy down. That did not make major news. We're going to put that link up for you because remember, if something works in the States, they don't report it.
Well, they have this thing in journalism, it's called Newspeak. It's right out of George Orwell's work, 1984, when, you know, they reterm things to make it sound more appealing.
Yes. We must have a much more appealing universe out there because, remember, there is shopping to be done. But if you're part of the conscious revolution, we're here for you because in 2012, we saw activism is working. We're going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about verbal camouflage. What have you got for me, brother?
Well, I got a clip from RT talking about that very thing.
Really? Okay, so let's run it. Make sure you check all of our facts because we're not going to say that we trust you. We're going to tell you to use your own head. Let's run it.
In the political theatre, it's easy for parties to change the script to suit the scene when support's not going their way. But are American voters willing to read between the lines and work out what's really meant?
Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth.
Or as the late American comedian George Carlin put it, euphemistic language that conceals reality.
Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities. And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're broke.
And today, America's love affair with semantics has given birth to a new phrase to describe the rich.
Job creators in America basically are on strike.
Increasing taxes on job creators.
This administration and this president, policies are hostile to job creators.
The propensity to add softer terms to the English lexicon has surged over the decades, particularly when it comes to military-related language.
There's a condition in combat, most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock.
Today, the same condition is known as an 8-syllable hyphenated phrase void of any emotion.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
The aftermath of war includes post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. For those of you suffering from PTSD,
when it comes to war is where you have
Allied soldiers shooting each other has become known as
friendly fire.
Kidnapping and transferring a terrorist suspect is called
extraordinary rendition.
And the torture America's war prisoners might endure is referred to as
enhanced interrogation.
In most cases, these new words are used by people trying to define an argument or frame it in a way that will support the position that they're advocating.
As America's political elite continues creating new vocabulary to soften the hard truth, a greater focus could instead be put into asking why so many issues need to be rephrased before being presented to the public. George Carlin created comedy about the strategy, but it was George Orwell who first coined a term for it, Newspeak. Reporting from New York, Marina Portnaya, RT.
That clip, of course, from Russia Today that got 300 million hits as opposed to the 3 million hits that CNN got for 2011. I hate pointing that out, that fact.
But it's always interesting the way that the language does change to reflect certain political truths or untruths.
Yeah, I know. Okay, when the UN came in and described the fact that 1 out of 4 Canadian children was going hungry and there was food crisis, they said, well, it's an economic problem. That's what the CBC kept saying.
Yeah, I know. And we're not, the poor aren't poor. They're financially disadvantaged.
I am blessedly unencumbered with excessive financial resources. Remember that. Rich people go bankrupt. Poor people become homeless.
And go to jail. Rich people get deferred prosecution.
Yes, deferred prosecution. Talking about deferred prosecution, we've got Time Magazine that jumped upon the Obama bandwagon here and talking about a mainstream mess, the way the propaganda works in the news. Our fearless American leader, our drone striker himself, the Nobel Peace Prize winner.
The guy who has put more people on trial with the Espionage Act than any other presidents combined.
I know.
He's the person of the year for Time Magazine.
I know.
Well, he's right up there with Hitler and Stalin.
Oh my gosh. Hey, okay. Well, look, you use your brain cells. Let's run the clip.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the Time Magazine Person of the Year for 2012 is President Barack Obama. Cue the confetti. Give the band the go-ahead to play Stars and Stripes Forever. Release the doves. Okay, but in all seriousness, is this announcement really that surprising to anyone? I mean, he's the man who overcame crippling unemployment numbers to win back the presidency. Numbers so debilitating no incumbent in the history of the country has ever won under those circumstances. He's the president who reformed the healthcare system, put the 1% back in their place, and killed Osama bin Laden. So looking at all of those things, does it really come as a surprise to anyone that he won? Well, as it turns out, it's possible that none of those factors actually contributed to his winning Time's Person of the Year nomination. It could be the sheer fact that he is the leader of the most powerful nation in the world that qualifies him to hold that position. We look at history to set the precedent. President Obama also earned the title back in 2008 after his first election. Before that, George W. Bush was Time's Person of the Year in 2004 after his election, and also in 2000. In fact, every election year since 1986 has resulted in a U.S. president being named Time's Man of the Year, with only one exception. President Bill Clinton. He earned the title in 1992, but was surpassed by AIDS researcher Dr. David Ho as the Man of the Year in 1996. So call it predictable, call it surprising, but whatever you call it, chances are you'll probably read it and know that the Oval Office is still the highest position in the land, as well as on magazine stands.
There's Russia Today, of course, handling the story that's not handled by major media.
It seems Russia Today actually practices real journalism, as opposed to Time magazine, which went with a lazy pick for Person of the Year.
My gosh, why do they got to put this guy out there? Where is the journalism? But what have you got here, man?
Well, you know, there was a recent shooting in Newton, Connecticut, where a bunch of school children got killed by a medicated student.
Okay.
Of course, no one's talking about that. But, of course, there was a huge show of public outrage. But there's no show of outrage over the amount of civilians being killed overseas by the drone program.
You know, and that one is really wiping me out, okay? Because we've got children killed by Obama, drone strikes, those are presidential orders, and not covered by major media.
And Madeleine Albright, back when she was Sex State, they asked her about whether 1 million dead Iraqi children was worth it. And she said yes.
Let's run the clip.
Thousands of civilians, including women and children, lose their lives every now and then in the U.S. assassination drone attacks in Pakistan's tribal regions. But political analysts are now questioning the American policy over the killing of innocent civilians. They say the Americans and their president Barack Obama shed tears over the killing of 20 children and 6 adults in a school in Connecticut, while keeping a blind eye on news about the frequent death of Pakistani civilians who are being killed during Washington's drone attacks in the country. Many in Pakistan see the shooting in Newtown as part of the American culture, a culture of shooting civilians, including children, which has been waged on people of Pakistan by the US government under the cover of its so-called war on terror.
Here in FATA, those number of people are killed every day, including women and children.
The New American Foundation Institute says Barack Obama authorized over 300 drone strikes in Pakistan during his first 4 years in office, which is more than 6 times bigger than the number of strikes authorized during the administration of George W. Bush. The institute holds that since 2004, a total of 337 CIA-led drone attacks in Pakistan have killed an estimated 1,908 to 3,225 people. Washington claims that its drone strikes target militants. However, local figures and reports reveal that civilians, including women and children, are the main victims of these attacks.
We consider drones as illegal.
Despite Pakistani government's repeated calls on Washington to end its assassination drone attacks, the US government continues its strikes on Pakistan's tribal areas. Official figures show that tens of thousands of innocent Pakistanis have lost their lives in bombings and other terror-related incidents since Pakistan joined the so-called US-led war on terror. The 180 million nation has time and again called on their Islamabad to end its cooperation with Washington in the said war. Zahid Hussain, Press TV, Peshawar.
Coming up on Clips, we're going to be talking about, of course, Idle No More.
And, of course, the extension of the National Defense Authorization Act, the fiscal cliff nonsense.
Okay, so stay tuned. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
We'll be right back.